My name is Siobhán Golden, and I'm the current intern with Mercy Global Action, the justice arm of Mercy International Association. On April 4th, the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action is observed. To commemorate this event, today I am joined in conversation with Sr Denise Coghlan. Sr Denise is a religious sister of Mercy from Brisbane, Australia, and is one of the pioneers of the landmine movement. Sr Denise has been involved in the landmine issue and campaign for over 20 years in Cambodia, advocating for the ban on anti-personnel mines, the clearance of existing minefields, and assistance for victims and survivors everywhere. So thank you so much, Sr Denise, for joining me today and sharing with us.
You're welcome.
And sharing with us your journey as well with the international campaign to ban landmines. So let's get started. In 1997, the international campaign to ban landmines won the Nobel Peace Prize for its efforts and achievements. This campaign played a pivotal role in the adoption of the Mine Ban Treaty, which has helped to save the lives of millions and prevent millions from suffering from serious injuries caused by anti-personnel mines. So can you tell us a bit about what influenced you to become involved in the international campaign to ban landmines?
Well, Siobhán, I was working in the refugee camps on the Thai-Cambodian border, and there every day almost somebody was injured by a landmine as they crossed the border, either maybe to get food or maybe to join the fight against what they saw as the oppression against them. And people, many people I knew, whose faces I know very well, were taken off to hospital to have their legs or their arms or their eyes amputated. So I kept saying, this is 1988, we should ban these weapons. But I just said it, I didn't really do anything. And then in about 1994, I think, yes, 1994, a young woman called Jodie Williams came to Cambodia and asked us would we join with them in the whole international campaign. And so we did. So that's how I got involved in the beginning. But it was the suffering of the people that forced me to go into the campaign, because I wanted to address the cause as well as help the people who were hurt and get the mines cleared.
And from this experience with the international campaign, can you share with us what you saw as the most effective advocacy strategies used by civil society at this time?
Oh, we had so many, really. There were so many wonderfully creative and beautiful and dynamic people, young and old, in the campaign. So they came up with many things. But probably if I had to sum up, I'd say, first thing is to have a clear, short goal. That is, ban mines, clear the mines, and help the victims and their communities. Clear can be said to everybody. And then to raise public awareness, because even Pope John Paul II had no idea what a landmine was when one of our survivors went and asked him to ban mines. So it was to get the issue on the agenda. Another strategy was to try to get journalists to join in, and they were fantastic. Journalists were very important. So journalists, mine clearers, doctors, politicians, we got everybody as we tried to involve, even the defence forces. And another one was to try to find among the governments some champions, some who would join us. So the movement became a real joint effort between civil society and governments of the world. Of course, Princess Diana helped it along too with her sparkling profile and going to the landmine area in Angola. One of our survivors actually went to meet her in New York and asked her to really become part of the campaign. Another strategy that the Jesuits backed very strongly was to write up ethical reasons, ethical arguments that would call people to join the campaign and to ban landmines. So this was really important. And then we had many wonderfully creative things, like our people who lost their legs to landmines rode their bicycles and cyclos and wheelchairs all the way from Paris to Belgium in 1997. And inside their cyclo, they had effigies of Bill Clinton and Tony Blair and Jacques Chirac and not Putin, the one who was on then, I forget his name for the minute, from Russia. So this was a hilarious little ride. Collecting signatures, presenting them at the UN, but are probably, I think, two of the most effective strategies of all were the voice of survivors speaking for themselves. And the survivors in our JRS team here in Cambodia were the leaders in that, Tun Chanaret and Song Kasao. And then as well, we were lucky because email was invented by then. 1993 was the first time we had email in Cambodia. And it was a very important tool that was used with extraordinary advantage to connect the campaign up all around the world, because we had really no staff. We had one coordinator, Jodie Williams, and lots of emails, and that kept the thing afloat. Perhaps that's enough for the now.
So thank you for sharing all those amazing strategies. And I know you've spoken a bit in the first question about the destruction and damage that landmines do to the lives of millions. Can you give us some examples of the work that you and the JRS team are doing to restore and create more dignified lives for those impacted by mines in Cambodia?
Yes, but before I do that, I'll just say one more strategy that I forgot, and that was being able to bring together leaders of different faiths, the different popes over the generations, and the Buddhist leaders and the Muslim leaders to work together for this ban. Now, what do we do today to help the people? Because here, it's like we've been campaigning for 30 years or so, but still people are being injured. Maybe 5,000 people last year were injured by mines, too many. So what can we do? Well, what we do in a very simple way is to help people with the very obvious things of helping them at hospital at first and with wheelchairs. That's obvious. But then as they come out from the trauma, our own people who've been hurt by landmines act as peer counsellors, peer people who go and meet them in their own villages, in their own places, talk to their wives, talk to them, talk to their husbands, talk to their children, and encourage them to get going again. And we sometimes bring especially women together so that they can talk with one another, that they can talk about their lives, share their stories, but plan a way forward with some sort of income generating project request or some way of trying to make their gardens more sustainable, etc. So that's another way that we try to help them. And then we try to get them really alive to be able to talk to their villages, to talk to their village leaders and to the province leaders and even the government and of course the international community about what this means and how they can help. So there's some of the ways that we do it.
That's brilliant, thank you. You really do such incredible work and at all levels as well. And I really appreciate that we got to see this when we took our Mercy Emerging Leaders Fellowship trip to Cambodia in 2019. And I will always be in awe and inspired by the work of you and your team. And we're now 24 years on since the landmark mine ban treaty was adopted. Landmines continue to kill and injure millions, as you have said. And you mentioned that there were more than 5,000 casualties from landmines last year. So what role can civil society play to support and ensure people affected by landmines are not forgotten?
Well, it's to jump on the opportunity, the Kairos moments. So if you hear that landmines are being used or cluster bombs are being used in Syria or Yemen, it's to call out about it, post it on your social media and put it around. or even now in Myanmar, which is at the top of the news poll at the moment. Myanmar has many, many landmines, and landmines were actually used against the Rohingyas by the Tatmadaw back in 2017. So we need to call out issues of use, but we also need to let the voices of survivors to see the human face of the story and have it talking to people, convincing people that really we have to keep this issue up to the front. We can't fund and forget. We have to keep it in mind.
Yeah, that's so true. We cannot fund and forget. You have highlighted so many strategies that we can all learn from and continue to use in our advocacy. And on to our last question. In 2019, at the Oslo Review Conference, governments around the world recommitted to the goal of ensuring landmine clearance by 2025. Only a few states are on track to achieve this. If you could send a message to governments or the United Nations in relation to ensuring landmine clearance and people's safety, what would it be?
Well, our slogan is finish the job by 2025. Also, our call to the governments and to the United Nations is keep funding and keep focused on clearance. But at the same time, don't forget that the survivors, or the victims, as some people call them, are still going to be there. They still, in some cases, need assistance because they've been very severely injured. So don't forget about them in your sustainable development goals. Make sure that while you might talk about inclusive development, that you don't forget the ones who've been injured by war. So perhaps that's my big message. And keep it up. Civil society and governments together can do many, many things. So let's do something about Myanmar while we're at it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. That is a brilliant, a very important message, and some great things that we can bring along in our advocacy work too. So thank you so much for joining me for this important conversation and for reminding us of the urgent need to achieve landmine clearance and to support all those affected by landmines globally. On behalf of Mercy Global Action, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to you and the team at JRS Cambodia for the incredible work you continue to do. We are so grateful that you could share this space with us to celebrate the International Day of Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. So thank you.
Thank you, Siobhán. Thank you very much. And keep up your great work too. It's wonderful having all these young faces. Youth is very important because they say they want mines cleared in our lifetime. Don't let it drag on and on and on forever. We want this problem, this challenge, this assistance to victims to go ahead.